1 in 4 Americans are dying of a cardiac-related event. Cardiac-related event in America, okay? And so that's the whole point of coming into this tonight, is to say the year 2020 was spent talking about infectious disease. Infectious disease is not the #1 killer in the United States. Cardiac events, heart disease, number 2 is cancer. Number 2. So those are the top 2. Those are the most likely ways that all of us in this room living in America will die. So the whole point tonight is, and this is, Dr. Kevin and I preparing for this, is we get a little bit nervous, and not because I'm nervous to stand in front of you and talk to you about this. It's because I hope it lands. You know what I mean? So I feel a sense of responsibility. Like, if I do my job tonight, give you guys the information, give you the action steps, give you the motivation to move, this could save your life. So just so you guys know, you're a part of, right now, Max Living Nation. This is a map in the United States and Canada of all the offices that are teaching this within the same week. So to me, this is the coolest thing ever, because our society is finally ready, I feel like, to hear the truth, a different message. Where before we all had our faith in medications and surgeries, now everyone's realizing lifestyle is where health is. And so all these different clinics around the US, not only are these places where your friends and family out of state can go to get help with their spine, their nervous system, and learn this kind of stuff, but this is a momentum, a movement that's creating space in people's hearts and minds so they can learn this stuff and take responsibility for their health. So my goal tonight is, you'll leave here, and my goal every visit is, you're going to leave here taking responsibility for your health, meaning you're not going to wait and wait and wait for something bad to happen. You're not going to defer responsibility to your medical doctor, your chiropractor, whoever. Your job is to take responsibility for your health so you can make informed choices and get the outcomes you want, right? Where if you leave it up to random chance, if you leave it up to somebody else doing it for you, you will never get healthy, because nobody can do it for you, right? I can't eat lunch for you. I can't get adjusted for you. I can't make time in your schedule to do affirmations and work on your mindset for you, but I can show you the steps to take. So our purpose is to be the standard for natural health care and allow you to live your life to your purpose. So I'm glad you guys showed up here. So 2020 was the year of creating fear, creating doubt, creating quarantine. Raise your hand if you were a little bit more stressed out in 2020 than you ever have been. Anyone? Only 2 people? I was, right? You have people changing the rules of our society, changing where you go to work, who you work with, where you're allowed to go, and what you're allowed to do and not to do, right? So it was a stressful year. And my concern is, going into 2021 and 2022, is we're not going to see more infectious disease deaths. We're going to see more cardiac deaths than ever in the history of this country, because of what happened in 2020. They took everything away from you that you have to do to be healthy. Go to the gym, be around people you care about, get outside and exercise, all these different things they were taken away, ironically, to create safety for you. But the reality is, instead, what it did is create a landslide that we're going to see over the next couple of years. I hope not. But 65% of Americans took time off from their workout routines. 65. Now, this is of a small group of people that already were working out. What about the people that weren't, right? So 65% of the people that were doing the right thing stopped. And most people weren't doing the right thing already. So, I mean, are you guys with me? You already understand. I don't need to keep going on this. Everyone was busy surviving the last 18 months. They forgot about the #1 and #2 most likely killers, heart disease and cancer. So your focus shifted over here to infectious disease, but the odds of you living in a Western society with plumbing and sewer removal and water filtration of dying of an infectious disease is very low. The odds of you dying of heart disease, 1 in 4. So we're shifting our focus back tonight to heart disease. And so the reason I'm bringing this up, is the future bright? I don't know. The future can be bright for you if you do the right things, right? And some of the people in here have already had heart attacks, and now you're going to learn how to heal from that. And the good news is you can. You can. You get a second chance. Your body's that incredible. And the future is bright for you as long as you do the right things. So this is my purpose for the night. If you leave here with one thing, and I'm going to hit a note slide next and give you the outline of what we're going to talk about. But if you leave here with this one thing, then I did my job, okay? So there are 33 natural laws called the chiropractic principles that have been outlined by a doctor named Stevenson. And he's a chiropractor, and this is years and years ago. But these are natural laws. They're not chiropractic laws, they're laws of nature. And one of them is very specific to what we're discussing tonight, and it's the character of innate forces. So the word innate means inborn. It's within you, okay? Your body has its own innate intelligence, which means when you were born, your body self-organized and self-created and grew up to be you, this full adult human, and that same power still lives inside of you today. And that's what's allowing your heart to beat, your lungs to breathe. That's what's deciding what's foreign material or not for your immune system. And that's what's cleaning the arteries out of your heart in your peripheral vascular system, okay? So innate intelligence means inborn, it's already within you. And intelligence means it knows what it's doing. It's organizing you. You're alive. Some of you have been alive decades, 8 or 9 decades, and your body's been taking care of itself using this innate intelligence. So here's the point of it. The forces of innate intelligence never injure or destroy structures within which they work. And so I'm going to say that again in common terms. What it means is the power that runs your body will never, ever do anything against itself. And so what we have to debunk is this myth that we've been fed for my entire life, which is you're born and you have a ticking time bomb in you called genetics or this predisposition or bad luck that eventually someday you're going to develop high blood pressure. And eventually you're going to get high cholesterol and you're going to have a cardiac event. And it's so ingrained in our society that you go into the doctor and they say, hey, has anyone in your family ever had a heart attack? And if you say yes, what do they want to do? They already want to put you on a medication. Has nothing to do with you, has to do with someone else's lifestyle in your family history. But we've been so ingrained with this. So what you have to decide tonight is, do you honestly believe that a 5-year-old child, a 10-year-old, a 25, 30, 40, 50-year-old, that your body is designed to fall apart and develop disease automatically on its own? Or is the exact opposite true, that your body was made right, it knows exactly what it's doing at the right time, at the right place, and it's going to do everything it can to restore normal function and repair the damage, even when you're doing the wrong things? You see the difference? So you've been told your whole life, you're going to get sick, you're going to have high blood pressure. If your mom did, you're definitely going to. If your dad did, go ahead and take this medication starting now in your 30s. Even though you don't have high blood pressure yet, you're probably going to get it eventually. So start taking this drug now to cover it up. And that's our philosophy. And I'm here to tell you, I'm not here to bash drugs or anything. I'm here to give you the truth. It's not working. It's not working. If it was, you'd take the medication and never have a heart attack. But most everybody that's having these cardiac events, heart attacks, strokes, aneurysms, whatever it is, they're on the medications, right? So the whole point of this is, if you leave here with the understanding that your body is self-healing, when you have a cut, it heals. It's not going to do anything to harm you. It's not going to develop high cholesterol to try to kill you. It's doing it for a reason, and it's doing it for the right reason. So what we're going to go through tonight is the strategies. How do you heal your heart? How do you, if you're over here and you already have a great functioning cardiovascular system, how do you keep it that way? How do you prevent it from happening? If you've already had an issue or you're already on a medication, what can you do to literally heal and unwind some of this damage and start coming back this way? And it's been shown that you can do that. You can reverse congestion and clotting and atherosclerosis. You can reverse damage in the heart. The body heals. Everyone knows this. Otherwise, you'd have a heart attack and you would never survive it. But you can survive it, and then the heart can heal. So we're going to go through, what are the causes? Well, how do we remove the interference? How do we move strategically to stimulate and strengthen the cardiovascular system? And then what role does the nervous system play? And how do you address that specifically? And if you do these 4 things, you're going to have a healthy heart. So heart disease, when we talk about the cause of heart disease, one of the biggest things, so who's heard of cholesterol? All right. So the number one thing that I have to explain is HDL and LDL are actually not cholesterol. They're not cholesterol. And I don't want to go too deep into it here, but basically HDL brings cholesterol from your tissue, so my arm, it'll bring cholesterol back to my liver. And then LDL brings from the liver, which is where it's manufactured and stored, to the tissue. So if I get a cut, my body is going to upregulate LDL. I'm going to have higher LDL for a little bit. My brain's going to identify there's a cut. It's going to start bleeding and scabbing. And then LDL cholesterol will transport cholesterol to the cut so I can heal. Okay? So the reason and the theory, which we now know is flawed, and we're human beings doing this research. I'm not criticizing anybody, right? And in 20 years from now, we'll know more about it than we do today. But we know that LDL, there's no such thing as good and bad cholesterol. There's no such thing. There's only cholesterol. And it's been studied, and everyone goes in and says, hey, you have high LDL, you got to stop eating eggs, right? Stop eating red meat and eggs, right? Who's heard that before, right? You're eating too much stuff, your cholesterol's up because of what you're eating. So that may or may not be true. What's not true is your dietary cholesterol, the cholesterol you're actually eating, you don't just eat it and it goes in your bloodstream and that's why it's high. Your body digests it and stores it in the liver, and it only accounts for about 5 to 10% of your cholesterol levels. The rest of your cholesterol was made by your liver. It was manufactured by your body. The same way you manufacture blood and skin and everything else and thyroid hormone, your body is making it. Okay? So that should be kind of news to everybody. Does anybody already knew that? You're making the majority of your cholesterol in your body. And so HDL and LDL, all they indicate is where is your body sending the cholesterol. They're like little taxi cabs. Your body,
you're not making too much.
No, you're making the right amount depending on how your body's working and what environment you're in. So that's what we're getting into. So what I'm trying to say philosophically on that last slide, and I know nobody wants to do the philosophy part because it gets boring, but this is the huge switch that goes off. Literally, your body, based on Law 25, will never, ever make an inappropriate amount of cholesterol unless you have a genetic disease, which you would have known because you would have been a 2-year-old baby. We actually have a guy that comes here, and he has this diagnosed. It's a genetic issue where his cholesterol is off the charts because that's how he's been his whole life, and that's what his body's making. So there's a little bit of an injury there, but you would have known. You would have been a 10-year-old, and it would have been diagnosed, right? So for all of us that don't have a genetic issue, your body is making the right amount of cholesterol.
So when you take
the right amount
to control the cholesterol, that kind of throws it off.
You're working against your body when you do that. You're working against your body. So there can be times to do that, but so this is huge to understand, and we're going to hit on that. We're going to hit on that. So does everybody understand? HDL and LDL, when you're reading your blood results, you're not looking at good and bad. You're just looking at, is it going to the liver or is it going to my tissues? Am I injured and inflamed, or is my body storing it? So what you're told typically is when HDL is high and LDL is low, this is actually a good sign. It's a good sign. It just means the body's storing cholesterol because there's not a lot of injury and inflammation going on. When LDL is high, it means there's tissue and inflammation going on. So you could have an infection. You could have worked out really hard the day before. You did your cholesterol test, and LDL is going to be a little bit higher. So it's an indication of what's going on, right? That's what it's doing. So the truth about cholesterol is this. It's not cholesterol that causes heart disease and heart attacks. It's the oxidation, the damage of cholesterol. So cholesterol is not the enemy. It's not. Lowering it, there's a higher death rate with low cholesterol than high, because cholesterol is, number one, it's used to make your hormones in your body, your reproductive hormones, your neurotransmitter hormones, your thyroid hormone is made out of cholesterol. So it's a building block for hormones, and it works as an anti-inflammatory. Your body uses that as part of the healing process. So if your cholesterol is way too low because you're externally lowering it with too much medication, you actually, and they've studied this, especially over the age of 60, you're more likely to die with low cholesterol than high. Let that sink in. You're more likely, you're going to live a shorter life with low cholesterol. Why? You can't heal as good. You can't heal as good. More people have heart attacks with normal cholesterol than with high cholesterol. So think about that. More people have normal, within range cholesterol levels than high. And this is huge if you let it sink in. Somebody who's raising cholesterol when they're inflamed or injured is actually healing and repairing, where somebody whose body is lacking the ingredients to make cholesterol, a healthy diet, healthy nervous system, their body may not be manufacturing enough cholesterol to heal them fast enough. Does that make sense? You guys follow that? It's huge. So let these sink in. The damage of cholesterol, which is what we're going to get into now, and how to prevent the damage of cholesterol, is what causes heart disease, not cholesterol. So if you're taking notes, one of the ways to monitor the amount of damage you most likely are doing to your cholesterol is when you run a blood work, you check your non-specific C-reactive protein. It's called CRP. C-reactive protein is an inflammation marker. If your CRP is high, it means in the cells, in the blood, you're inflamed, which means oxidative stress is high, which means cholesterol. It's like driving in traffic. Cholesterol is getting damaged and bumped into, and that's going to lead eventually to a cardiac event. If you have high cholesterol, but your inflammation is low, you're not a red flag. See the difference? So your CRP is what you want to look at, your CRP. And then there's more testing you can do as well, and it's not necessarily covered by insurance for a lot of people, but a particle size test is another thing you can look at. So it's just ways to analyze what's actually going on in the bloodstream. But
because I used to go to the doctor, and he said, "Yeah, your cholesterol's low."
Yeah, so you were low.
You know, right? And
So
all my buddies at work, they got high cholesterol.
You just fell right into this category right here.
And that's why
You were too low. You weren't healing.
Right.
Yep. Now look at this. So this is again, this is all PubMed. This is all public information. This is new stuff coming. This is 2018. It's not even brand new, you guys. How many people have heard about this? LDL does not cause cardiovascular disease. What they're saying down here is there's an increased understanding that mechanisms are more complicated, and statin treatment in particular, if you're using it as prevention, is of doubtful benefit. So what they're saying is, oh my gosh, in 2018 now, we're finally realizing statins are not a good intervention to treat cardiac events.
Where was this published?
This is on PubMed. So this is like all the government. I can send you the link to this. Yeah, this is all like, you can go to pubmed.gov, pubmed.gov, and you can look up any of these. These are all publicly, like this is the actual link to that article right there. That's like, you know, if you want to type that in.
Primary care physicians recommend statins.
Because it's all about 30-year-old science. So there's a huge disconnect, and this runs deep into our society, and it's frustrating because the people that run this and they do this study, they're not seeing patients, they're not treating anybody, they're in a lab. And then they release this data, right? And it falls on deaf ears. Because what happens is you have drug companies manufacturing these medications. They're the ones educating the doctors that are in practice now for 10, 20, 30 years. They're not in school anymore. Most of what's being educated is based on pharmaceuticals. So I mean, I'm not saying this, that I'm not saying anybody necessarily is evil behind this. What I'm trying to say is the number one, the massive, massive industry in the United States, the backbone of our economy is the health industry. I mean, multi-trillion-dollar industry annually is people going in, getting on drugs, side effects from drugs, surgeries. I mean, this is our economy, a huge backbone of our economy in the US. So what I'm trying to say is when people are pumping out statin medications, the most profitable medication ever known in the history of the world, statins, right? And they can put you on it and say, look, it lowered your cholesterol, it worked. It's all based on a theory that cholesterol causes heart disease and heart attacks. But the problem is it doesn't. So they say, yep, I ran the test. Your LDL is high. Your cholesterol is too high. That's a bad thing based on this theory. Take the statin. Look, it went down. Now you're safe. So it's just a cause and effect. They're able to modulate it with a drug. But the problem is underlying that, it's of doubtful benefit.
The same thing happened to me. Exactly.
It's of doubtful benefit.
So I had this problem.
Mm-hmm.
They put me on the drugs. I go back to the doctor. He goes, John, you're doing great.
Your levels are lower.
Right?
Which we just talked about. Your now lower levels actually put you at more risk for a cardiac event.
If that's it, how about I get off all this stuff?
Right.
Because it might go back up. So theoretically, then you're in trouble again. And that's why, when do you normally get off of these medications? Never.
Right.
Never.
So the decision.
Because the theory behind it.
Is really behind you.
It's on you, exactly. And this is what's tough about it. You got to get educated, which how many people are going to go to work all day, go home exhausted, cook dinner, clean the house up, do your laundry, fold this, run the kids around, and then log on to PubMed and read 2 new, you know what I mean? So this information, that's why we have to do these workshops, is I have to give you guys this stuff, because ultimately, if you know this, you can start taking a little bit more control of your health and saying, man, this makes sense. My body's raising it because I'm inflamed. And this is what we're going to get into next, is like, how do you lower it by lowering the underlying issue, right? So high cholesterol could be a great thing if you're having an issue, right? If you had a knee injury and it's swollen and inflamed, you need high cholesterol. You need it, otherwise you're not going to heal.
So
Yeah.
when I first got on medication, they told me the reason why you got to get on blood pressure medication, your liver retains too much water. So it's creating your elevation in your blood pressure.
We will touch on that,
was not a part of that.
because that is true. If you have any kind of fatty liver, and whether or not it's diagnosed as fatty liver or not, the 3 causes, and this is more of a write down too: sugar. So this is, I mean, you're like, perfect. He's planted in the audience. I'm saying, perfect segue. Perfect segue. Poor habits. So again, you're making the wrong choices, whether you know it or not. It's raising inflammation in the body. LDL increases because the body's sending cholesterol out to the tissue to repair damage. And guess what else happens? The liver will get congested. The liver filters 570 gallons of blood per day. And so sugar and alcohol are the big 2 things that irritate and congest the liver. Sugar and alcohol. Those are the big 2 things. And so if you're doing too much sugar, poor habits, this guy, you're inflaming, congesting the liver, increasing blood pressure because the blood's getting congested, it's not working right, and LDL goes up. Now you run the blood test, they say, look, your LDL is up, which now that you know means my habits are off, I'm not living the right way, I need to go back and course correct, where what they're going to tell you is, hey, keep doing whatever you're doing and take this and it'll lower your LDL. So now you're living the same toxic lifestyle, you're inflaming the liver, you're inflaming your bloodstream and body can't heal itself because you're lowering your cholesterol, and now you're more likely for a heart attack, which is what the data says. And that's exactly what happened. So they're actually accelerating. You'd be better off just being in the woods and no one checked you, because they're actually accelerating the process. Now there could be a situation now, and so go with me here. I'm not here to mess with your medications, right? I'm just giving you the data. But my point is, statins most likely, if you're going to get to the cause, are not the answer. Now there could be a situation where somebody is severely inflamed, cholesterol is severely high because their lifestyle is so bad, and they temporarily needed to lower it. Does that make sense? Yeah. But it has to be done, number 1, under supervision, because by lowering cholesterol, you're gonna mess with hormones, you're gonna mess with blood flow, right? The number 1, there's the main side effects of these statins are you get muscle and leg weakness and cramping, big time. Erectile dysfunction is a big one. So guess what the number 2 follow-up drug is with that? Viagra. So they got you, right? They sell the problem and the solution in one package. Great marketing. So the statins come in. For most people, the answer is you go and address these things we're about to go through. And then you monitor the blood work again, give it 90 days, give it another 120 days, and you'll watch your body, if it's functioning and healing properly, you're living the 5 essentials, will course correct. And as you heal, the cholesterol will come back down. So cholesterol supporting nutrients. So we're going to get into mostly diet things here. There are some supplements you can do. I'm going to hit on that in a second. But so people that eat vegan and vegetarian diets are getting these nutrients called sterols. If you remember from your chemistry class, plant sterols. So sterols are rich in like a lot of the plant families, green leafies, and what they do is they're a natural anti-inflammatory. So they help the body and they lower cholesterol, because if you're going to bring inflammation down, your body doesn't need as much inflammatory cholesterol. Who knows about curcumin, turmeric? Number 1 natural anti-inflammatory. It's been used for thousands of years in India, Ayurvedic medicine, anti-cancer properties, anti-inflammatory properties. You can use it. And again, these are supplements. These aren't cures, but turmeric or curcumin, which turmeric is the root. This is turmeric right here. It kind of looks like ginger. And within that is these curcuminoids, these little compounds that are anti-inflammatory. So that can be used. Red yeast rice, who's heard of that? A lot of people have heard of red yeast rice for cholesterol. Anyone that studied herbs or supplements, red yeast rice, and then CoQ10. Here's another huge take-home point. If you are currently on a statin and not taking CoQ10, you need to immediately start taking CoQ10. So CoQ10, our body manufactures it in our mitochondria. It's used as an antioxidant. So like when you run a car, there's exhaust. When our cells burn energy and they create energy, there's exhaust called free radicals. CoQ10 neutralizes these free radicals. It's like a filter. It's like a bulletproof vest. So what happens is the way they stop your body from making cholesterol is they break the pathway with the drug chemical. They break the pathway, and that also breaks the production of CoQ10. So not only are you limiting cholesterol production, but you're limiting the anti-inflammatory properties of CoQ10.
How many milligrams in your CoQ10?
Minimum of like 60 to 80. A minimum about 60 to 80 milligrams of CoQ10.
Yeah.
That's a pretty high dose. I mean, 60 to 80 is on the lower end. You can get up 300, 400 in that end too. Yeah, and again, so if I was taking a statin for 10 years and I never took a CoQ10, I might go to 1,000 for 6 months. Give the body some support. That's one of those you would feel a difference on too. Taking CoQ10, you're going to be less achy, less cell damage, anti-aging. I mean, I'm not on a statin, but I take it anyway. I take CoQ10 every day. Yeah. We have one that we're actually out of it right now. Probably because this workshop is being done nationwide and everyone's buying all the CoQ10. We're like back ordered on it. But we have it mixed with ALA, alpha lipoic acid, which is another anti-inflammatory compound. So basically you're just stacking the deck in your favor, giving your body the raw materials to protect itself. And that will also naturally lower cholesterol levels because you're not as inflamed. Does that make sense? Yeah. That's a huge one. So this is the CoQ10 with alpha lipoic that I was talking about. And then vitamin D3 as well. Vitamin D is a considerable modifiable, meaning you can change it, risk factor from muscle-related effects of statins. So people with normal D3 levels have less side effects on statins, is what that's saying. And then CoQ10 has to be supplemented, and your doctor should be telling you this before they give you these drugs because it breaks the pathway, right? It's like an assembly line, and they're stopping it here. Cholesterol gets made there, CoQ10 gets made there, but they're cutting it off. So you're deficient in both. So plaquing, atherosclerosis, which is hardening of the arteries. So you guys understand the arteries run blood everywhere in the human body, and they have a muscle lining in them so they can expand and contract. So the best example of this is when you're on an airplane, you're not moving. Blood still gets everywhere it needs to go. It's the vein return back to the heart that doesn't work because it requires movement and muscle contraction to bring blood back to the heart, okay? So what atherosclerosis means is when the heart pumps, there's a burst of force that comes out and the arteries can expand and then allow that blood to flow through and then contract. So it's like breathing. There's like a breathing that needs to happen. So atherosclerosis, hardening of the arteries, is like if somebody put like a corset or a brace around your arteries, the walls become stiff and rigid, and they don't have that expandability where they can let things flow through. It makes you more likely for a clot to get stuck in there. Okay? So that's atherosclerosis. Now, this can be reversed. This can be reversed. The same way somebody can come in here and have really stiff spine or really stiff, tight hamstrings, and we can hydrate them, stretch them out, get them moving, and they loosen up. It's a similar process. So everyone blames fat. You're eating too much fat, it congests your heart. It's a complete lie. It's not true. It's not fat, it's the type of fat, and it's not fat, it's sugar. Okay? So these are notes that we need to take right now, okay? Number one, biggest thing you could do today to decrease your odds of a cardiac event or atherosclerosis is check labels on any product that you eat for what type of fat is in there. So the first thing is this. The thing that we do in my house is we do not fry, high heat, or cook anything other than avocado oil, and we try to limit that, okay? So here's how it works. The more difficult it is to get fat out of something, the more toxic it's going to be once it's extracted. So the examples would be canola oil, sunflower and safflower seed oil. They're not oily, right? How about corn oil? When you look at corn, do you think of oil and fat? No. So we need mechanical extraction processes to get fats out of these things, which are highly damaging to the fats. Okay? So what you want to get is your fats in their natural state. So the best thing you could do is eat an olive or an avocado. The second best thing you could do is get a cold pressed, minimally processed, unfiltered, like we use, oh man, I'm going to blank on his name right now. Comes in a real small bottle. I'm going to think of the name in a second. The one that we use, it's unfiltered enough that there's physical debris in it, right? They just squeeze and take the oil out. There's no heat involved. They're not over filtering and over processing it. So that'd be second best. So the best thing you could do is eat olives, eat avocados, eat, sardines and anchovies, these fatty fish, get the fats from their source, eat walnuts, eat almonds, pistachios, macadamia nuts, eat them in their natural state. It's the best thing you could do. Second best is boil or steam your vegetables or foods and then add oil to them in the raw state. So that'd be second best. So we do lots of broccoli. We do lots of Brussels sprouts, asparagus dishes at my house. And what we'll do is we'll steam the broccoli, or we'll cook the Brussels in a light coating of olive oil, avocado oil, just enough so they don't stick. And then once they're cooked, we take them out and then we add the olive oil seasoning on or whatever else we want to put on there, balsamic, right? So think about it as when you're heating something, you're damaging it, you're destroying it. This is a fact, right? You heat your clothes, they're destroyed. You burn your car, it's destroyed, right? You burn your skin. So heat damages these things. So when you're taking these industrial seed oils and eating them all the time, sunflower, safflower, canola oil, which is rapeseed oil. They just call it's a Canada low acid is canola, which is better branding, I guess. But it's from the rapeseed plant. These oils are extremely toxic and they lead to atherosclerosis. Trans fats, so fats that have been fried. This is anything deep fried. Fish fry on Fridays, French fries, onion rings. You go to a nice restaurant and they'll have Brussels sprouts on the menu. Those are deep fried. They come out crispy and brown like this. Deep fried, green beans, all that stuff. Anything breaded and dropped into a fryer is now a trans fat. These fats have been shown to decrease arterial flexibility for 24 hours. So what they did in the study was they take an athlete, a college athlete, they feed them French fries, and they look at endothelial flexibility. And it was compromised for 24 hours after eating French fries for one meal. 24 hours. So imagine you eat fries on Monday, you're compromised till Tuesday. Most people eat another fried thing, eat another one, skip a day, eat another one. So most people are spending half their week compromised with endothelial flexibility. Now add that to you get on a cholesterol lowering medication, you're inflamed, you're not making enough CoQ10, you start to see the picture come together. This is because air fryers are applying heat with no oil.
Okay, that's okay.
Yeah, I've never used one. I've had food out of one before, but that's a better alternative than deep frying. Yeah, that's why people are doing that. Fatty fish are good, like salmons. What's the other one that we get? We like the sea bass, Chilean sea bass they get from the waters of Antarctica. I mean, that one I like getting on sale because it's really expensive. That's a good, nice fatty fish. Cook that one lightly. But so remember, just watch the labels, you guys, for packaged foods. It's about 98% of things in a box you can't eat. If you look for sunflower, safflower, canola oil, all the industrial seed oils that they mechanically process.
Almost like a Mediterranean diet.
Yeah. I mean, you're going to eat more fresh foods, fresh veg. So the way we describe it to make it really simple and easy to understand is if you walk around with the mentality, eat God foods instead of manufactured foods, right? So is it in its natural state, fresh, plants, vegetables, meats that were raised the right way? That's what you got to look when you're walking through the store.
You have broccoli, you put a little olive oil on it, cook it, right? Heat it up or whatever.
Steam it is the best. Olive oil, some lemon juice, a little pepper, perfect. That's a great meal. Yep. You guys are gonna get for showing up too. We have a recipe book, a cardio recipe book that's in PDF form. So we're gonna send that to you. and it's got about 10 pages of recipes. So you can use that kind of as your framework, because all of those are healthy fats, low sugar, clean meats, prepared the right way. And all you need is like 5 recipes. But my big thing that I have is the trans fats for heart attacks in those industrial oils.
How about Cheerios?
Terrible. Genetically modified, it's sugar. So we're getting there. Actually, you know what? No, this is a really good point. We have to sit here for a second, because everybody understands, like, I'm not going to go eat Starburst. That's sugar. It's actually hydrogenated fats and sugar, like margarine. So you guys remember, I can't believe it's not butter and the whole margarine thing. So we now know margarine is 1 molecule away from a plastic. It's a trans fat. It will cause atherosclerosis, thickening and hardening of the arteries, right? So everybody understands, for the most part, if I'm ripping a packet of sugar and putting it in my coffee, that's a bad thing. I'm eating sugar, right? But what everybody misses is that any complex carbohydrate, bagels, pastas, cookies, crackers, tortillas, corn and chips and all this stuff, those are complex carbohydrates. There are multiple sugars linked together. When you chew it and your enzymes work on it, it dissolves into simple sugars. So it's sugar. So Cheerios is sugar. And here's how you look at it. You read the box, and it'll say sugars down there. And what that means is that's how much sugar they added, like white sugar, right? Or whatever sugar they're using, coconut, it doesn't matter. Sugar. And if you look above it a little bit on the label, it'll say total carbohydrates. That's what you're looking at. I don't have a Cheerios label in front of me, but it's probably around 25 grams a serving. So it's like half a can of Coke in one serving, and you probably eat a whole box.
Well, I thought I was
So,
doing good. I was eating a bowl of Cheerios.
But again, this is good marketing, right? They have on there healthy, heart healthy Cheerios. We're going to reduce inflammation. And so that's just good branding for them. They get the sponsorship from the Heart Association. But you can't look at that stuff, because remember, this is all government subsidized foods. Our food pyramid's based on what our tax dollars pay for. We pay for corn, we pay for wheat, we pay for these toxic cow milk, like we were talking about the other day. We actually pay to make that stuff affordable. But what we should be doing is paying for regenerative farming, people that take care of the soil, because that's where we get on supplements now. I'm annoyed because of the era that we live in. 100 years ago, you wouldn't have to take a single supplement. You wouldn't have to. These things were in the soil until about the 1940s, late 30s, the Dust Bowl, that whole era. That was when American soil died on our farmland. And then we came back and used petroleum chemicals to fertilize. So now the leaves are green, the tomatoes are red, but they're missing amino acids. They're missing the building blocks of what we need. So we're eating depleted food. And now we have all this stuff. I'm not saying I take all this stuff, because some of it's used temporarily, but I'm taking 15 different things a day just to try to recreate food again.
Let's
So
just breakfast. I mean, okay, can't have my Cheerios.
no Cheerios. I'm going to teach you. You're going to do a smoothie. You can do eggs. You can do eggs fried in either a coconut or an avocado oil, lightly cooked in that. You could do a chia seed pudding. So we'll teach you all this stuff. We'll teach you. So step 2 is remove the interference. So we know, so review is the cause of these problems is what? It's inflammation. It's a complete lack of understanding in our medical world of what the cause of the problem is. No one's ever talking to patients about the cause, getting to the cause. So now we talk about removing the interference, get healthy fats in. So we just listed a few. You guys are familiar. You should have an avocado. Primal Kitchen is the brand. That's the one. Mark Sisson, who, he was an athlete, kind of turned into health guru. He's got a brand called Primal Kitchen. And if you're looking for a salad dressing that uses good oils instead of sunflower oil, they got one. If you're looking for an unfiltered, cold processed, healthy avocado oil, that's the one we buy. And the trick is you wait for it to go on sale and you buy 6 of them, We usually get at Whole Foods because they'll have it on sale every once in a while. Like if you came to my house, we have our cabinet right there. There's literally 6 little bottles lined up from last time it was on sale. Next time it goes on sale, I'll buy more, And then the problem is this, you guys, none of it's subsidized, so you got to pay for it. But for me, I look at it as one of 2 things. And we were just talking about this the other day. One of the ladies in here was getting adjusted. Her friend make fun of her for how much she spends at the health food store. And you either invest in it ahead of time or you pay for it on the back end. It is what it is. It's going to cost you either way. It's just, do you want to enjoy your health or do you want to be cheap, 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 and then spend it all at once and be miserable at the end, you know? Yeah, it's going to be way worse. So this is a huge point that I have to leave you guys with. Your body can regenerate your heart and your cardiovascular system. It doesn't matter what age you are. It doesn't matter how far gone you think you are. Your body can regenerate these tissues. And this has been studied, and people have done it. And what they do is you go and address the underlying causes like we're talking about, give your body time, and it starts to heal. It takes at least 90 days. The heart cells regenerate on about a 90-day schedule. The skin's about 2 weeks. All these different cells have different death and life cycles. You understand that? So the cells you're made out of today are not the same cells that you were born with. They're a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy. So they make a copy die, make a copy die constantly. So you're building your new heart that you're going to have next year right now. And the foods you eat, the nutrients you bring in, that's what's going to determine how healthy it is. So some of the raw materials that I want to hit on with this. So nitric oxide, who's heard of it? Nitric oxide, right? Nitric oxide, we make it. It creates endothelial flexibility. It creates softness in the arteries. At about the age of 30, we begin having issues manufacturing L-arginine, which is an amino acid. And this is, again, something that should be found in our soils and is not. And our bodies can make it, but we're not making enough of it. And so what happens is we start decreasing in our ability to manufacture NO, which is a gas, and we start getting stiffer arteries. So one of the ways, if you already have had a cardiac event or you feel like you're at risk for one, is you can supplement the ingredients for your body to make nitric acid. You can supplement it. We actually have a supplement. It's on our website. It's called NOx.
What food gives you that?
L-arginine. Nuts and seeds are pretty high in it, but again, it depends on where it's grown. So what you have to do is, and this is what me and my wife started doing about 7 years ago, is we found a farm in Northwest Indiana, in Illinois, Northwest Illinois, Caledonia, Illinois, and it's called Angelic Organics, and it's a CSA, Community Supported Agriculture. And what they do is you get a membership for the summer, for the summer and the fall, and you can choose, I want a box every week, I want a box every other week, I want a box of veggies and fruit, or I just want vegetables. But they grow it all in that area, and these guys know what they're doing. They use like cover cropping, and they use crop rotation and all these regenerative farming techniques where they're restoring the minerals to the soil and then growing nutrient-rich vegetables in it the way that we're supposed to. As opposed to what's typically happening in industrial farms is there's no crop rotation, there's over farming, they're turning the soil, they're overgrowing to try to make ends meet because it's not very profitable. So again, the food from that farm is going to have different nutritional value, different L-arginine than a food from an industrial farm, right? So you gotta connect like that. I would recommend them. We've been using them for 7 years on and off, and they've gotten even better. Now you can go online. Yeah, Monsanto's doing the exact opposite. They want genetically modified seeds, and they want chemicals all over the foods, so you can grow more of it with less pesticides. But the reality is, if the soil was healthy, you'd have less bugs anyways, less problems anyways. So yeah, that's a whole nother issue. Glyphosate, which is Roundup, it's in our rainwater now. It's so omnipresent, it's in our rainwater. So this is more, and we'll hit on this in a second with supplements, but somebody who's already had a heart attack, or you have high blood pressure, or you've been diagnosed with atherosclerosis, getting on the nitric oxide, the raw material building thing, would be a good idea. Coupling that with exercise. I wanted to put this here because this is very important to hit on. Supplements are exactly called that for a reason. They're supplementing your diet and lifestyle. They're not a replacement. They're not an end-all, be-all, fix everything. They're not, I have high blood pressure, I'm not working out, I'm eating bad, my nervous system's subluxated, and I'm just going to go take the blood pressure support pill. You see what I mean? That's not how it works. It means I'm going to make my lifestyle changes, and then I'm going to supplement what might be missing or what I need to help myself with. So they're like nutritional insurance, right? How much L-arginine is in your food? I don't know, but maybe you should supplement it. Maybe you should supplement it. That's why I told you the other day. I said, you better stay for this. So high blood pressure, totally different than high cholesterol, high blood pressure. So there's some myths, there's some rules about this that everyone's missing. one of the big things is, again, just like cholesterol, your blood pressure is exactly what it should be based on what's going on. So if I open this door and the zookeeper brings a tiger in, what happens to your blood pressure? It should go up. Unless you're friendly with tigers and you don't care. So it should go up. Why? Because our brain identifies a threat. The blood pressure goes up to deliver more oxygen to the muscles. Our digestion slows down. Our immune system goes down, and we run away from the tiger. So if I threw a cuff on you in the middle of that and I saw your blood pressure was high, I'd say, oh, you have high blood pressure. Take this medication for the rest of your life. You have a problem, right? It's all environmental, meaning the blood pressure will go up under stress, under atherosclerosis conditions, atherosclerotic conditions. You're going to have more compression, higher blood pressure. If you don't have enough cholesterol to heal, again, this can lead to high blood pressure. You know, your exercise routine can affect blood pressure. There's all these layers. There's all these different layers to it. Pain can cause blood pressure to go up. Stress can cause blood pressure to go up, like the year of 2020, right? Financial, emotional, all these different things like we were talking about, all these different layers come in, and that's why your blood pressure's high. So if you don't go through and look and say, what is my mindset? How am I thinking all day, right? Thinking, and you guys understand this, right? You've heard the expression, man, he's going to give himself a heart attack.
Wait, just drive down.
Right? Think about that for a second. It's so innate that we conversationally say, man, that girl is so stressed out. She's going to give herself a heart attack. We know that our thoughts immediately change how our body works and how our blood pressure works, right? So that's a huge risk factor for somebody with high blood pressure. So you can't just go in, measure it one day, say it's high, and get on a pill for the rest of your life. To me, that's not an informed decision, and it's not an effective intervention. It's not addressing any of the causes of blood pressure at all. So we got to go through and look and say, okay, is it really the silent killer? Most importantly, I want to say, you know if you're in tune with your body, if something's going wrong. But the reason they call it the silent killer is it took you 20 years to develop the heart disease. It took you 10 years to develop the inflammation and the atherosclerotic plaques and all this going on underneath there. It's not a silent killer. It's not a surprise. It's mismanagement. Are you guys with me there? So you have all these environmental factors thrown at your body for decades, and the likely outcome is a heart attack, cardiac event. So the way you prevent the next one from happening or the first one from happening is you go back and unwind all these issues. You change your oils, you change your fats, you get sugar out of the diet. We're going to hit on exercise in a second here. You got to look at your mindset and stress levels, and you start unwinding some of these things. You don't have to be perfect, and the body starts to regenerate. It has that natural capability to regenerate itself. Who's heard of pulse pressure? Has anybody heard of this?
Pulse pressure?
Yeah, again, this is a research thing that most people have never heard of in practice. Pulse pressure is a more reliable way to determine whether or not somebody's blood pressure is an issue, okay? Every one of us are a little bit different. And so to say that your blood pressure has to be 120/80 all the time, otherwise you're sick, is completely false. It can't be that way. It has to go up. It has to go up when the tiger comes in, and it has to go down when you take a nap, right? It has to change throughout the day. So my point is, pulse pressure is a more reliable red flag indicator that if your pulse pressure is off, you could be at risk for a heart attack. And what pulse pressure is, the 120 and the 80, diastolic, systolic, diastolic, creates a delta between those two numbers is about 40, right? So somebody else's blood pressure might be 130/90, and that might be normal for them. That might be the average of their blood pressure, but their pulse pressure is still 40. You follow me? And then the tiger runs in the room, and my blood pressure jumps to 210, right? Over 180 or whatever, 170 or whatever, it might be 170, and I still have a 40 pulse pressure. You follow what I'm saying? So anytime you have your blood pressure done, you look at the pulse pressure and see if it's around that range, because it's a more accurate predictor. And then the other thing you need to look at is you need to take it multiple times, and you need to take it in different environments. Because the only time you ever take it is the one time a year you go to your medical doctor and you get nervous for it, and you're like, oh, I hope it's okay, and I hope I'm not on medication, right? It's called white coat syndrome. You've heard of that before? It's a real thing. People go in with high blood pressure and end up leaving on a medication for the rest of their life because their blood pressure was high for one test, an isolated test. So it's not an accurate predictor. You got to look at pulse pressure is a real indicator. Now, there's some nutrients here that can affect blood pressure. One of those is actually, they take a dried fish, a bonito dried fish extract. I don't know if you guys ever heard of this bonito fish. Bonito? You heard of that? Yeah. So that actually helps reduce blood pressure. Isn't that interesting?
Where do you find that?
The only place that I've ever seen it and the way that I found out about it is we started making a BP support, a blood pressure support supplement. And again, this is something that if you're the type of person that has high blood pressure, you're starting to address these underlying causes. You're going to go home and start cooking out of the cardio recipe book. You're going to start doing the exercises we're going to talk about in a minute. And you need to maybe get on that for 90 days. I think that's a good idea. If you're the type of person who's stressed out, you're smoking cigarettes, you don't want to work out, and you're not going to change your diet, I don't think that BP support is going to fix your problems. You follow me? But so that's one of the nutrients that can help with that. The L-arginine is another one that can help. Again, when you make nitric oxide, your blood vessels can change shape and size better. It's going to help decrease blood pressure. That's what I'm trying to say, is to confine it to that is the only pressure that's normal is completely wrong. That's normal blood pressure in what's called a homeostatic environment, which I refer to. Homeostasis would be the body is in complete balance, which doesn't happen very often during the day. It doesn't. So it should fluctuate.
What is pulse pressure supposed to be?
So pulse pressure, that 40 range is about where you want to be for pulse pressure. Yep. So when you're checking it again, some people's blood pressure might be 110/70, which is still in that 40 pulse pressure range. So you just want to check that and see. And then again, when my whole take home with this is if and when blood pressure is abnormal, your immediate reaction should say, okay, my body's raising my blood pressure for a reason. What might that reason be? My cholesterol, my LDL cholesterol is high and my C-reactive protein is high. What is the cause of that? Why is my body doing that? And then you look back and say, oh my gosh, I haven't been sleeping. I just got transitioned to a new job at work. You know, my neighbor is asking me to do all this stuff because he or she is sick and I'm helping out and I'm stressed out. Okay, so now I know I need to take a little more time in the mornings, do some breathing exercises. I need to go on a walk and do some exercise. I got to really clean up my diet because I'm putting extra stress on my body. So I don't have any leeway to take these vacation meals or these I want to eat for fun meals and I got to get real discipline. You see what I'm saying? So it's a give and a take always in life. You're never going to be perfect 7 days a week always, and that's not what you require. Your body can deal with the rest of that stuff. So as we move on here, move strategically. So just so you guys understand, I grew up playing sports and we were always taught that cardio was a low and slow, right? You got to be on 40 minutes, you got to exercise. It's got to be this low and slow burn, right? Like cooking a brisket. That's cardio. Everything else is weightlifting or exercise. But if you want to work out your heart, there's only one way to do it, cardio. And so I'm referring to that as standard cardio. It's even got the name in there, heart exercise. What's now true is, yeah, you can work your heart out by running for 45 minutes at a heart rate of 130. But a better way to do it is short duration, high intensity exercise. And this is my favorite thing because it takes way less time. So you don't need to go to the gym, put your running shoes on and jog for 45 minutes to get a heart workout. What you need to do is you need to work 20 minutes or less. I say 20 minutes, including a warm up. Typically your workout will be 8 to 12 to 15 minutes maximum. But during that time, you will reach peak heart rate pretty much every other minute. So you want to get to about 80 to 90% of your max output. What that means is you are struggling to do what you're doing. Not so much that you're going to pass out. You shouldn't be able to have a conversation when you're doing short intensity, high intensity, short duration exercise. You shouldn't be walking next to your friend. You know, you can't talk during it because it means you're doing it wrong. But the best type of exercise for cardiovascular endurance and for hormone regulation is short intensity, high duration, high intensity. Here's what you would do. Show up to work early or stay a little bit late. And when you're done with the workday, you would run up 14 steps or 24 steps or however many, maybe 2 flights.
About 60 feet.
So run up that, take a break at the top, breathe for 30 seconds, run up the next set. Or you could run up and then walk down while you're breathing slowly. Run up and then walk down while you're breathing slowly. If you do that for 12 minutes, that's high intensity, short duration exercise. Right? Have you ever done anything like that?
No, I just take the dog and he runs.
Your entire work day is low intensity, long duration exercise. You see what I'm saying? You're moving all day, but your heart rate's never spiking. Same with me and Dr. Kevin. We're moving all day, but I'm never like, that was a great adjustment. You see what I'm saying? We're never high intensity. We're low intensity, long duration. So I still have to come home and do this, right? And so the way you do it is you can do it anywhere. You could do it at work like that. You could do it with the dog. You guys sprint 2 houses and then you walk the next 3. Sprint 2 houses, walk the next 3. Sprint 2 houses, your neighbors are going to be like, what is he? But who cares, right? Because you'll be alive longer than any of them until you teach them all this stuff. But the point is, short duration, high intensity, it's going to eliminate most of the barriers to you working out. Most of your excuses, I don't have time, I don't want to go anywhere, I don't want to pay for a gym membership, I don't want a personal trainer, I don't have the equipment at my house. All these excuses are gone. You need your body, maybe a little piece of floor this big, and you need to move at a high intensity for 15 minutes or less. So you do 1 minute on, 1 minute off, or 30 on, 30 off, 30 on, 30 off, 30 on, 30 off, right? You can pick one exercise and do it the whole way through, like running the stairs. You can pick multiple exercises. So my favorite is you pick six exercises. You do each one for 3 rounds. So 6 and 3, you remember that? So you might pick push-ups, okay? You might pick sit-ups, and then you just cycle through 30 on, 30 off, 30 on, 30 off, 30 on, 30 off, next exercise. Does that make sense? I'm not going to make you guys do it. Sometimes we do. But add it in 3 days a week. That's all you need, 3 days a week. Walk the dog 7 days, high intensity 3 days. Sound good?
So are planks considered low intensity?
Planks, they can be worked into it. That's more like a afterward workout kind of thing. You'd be better off being active, like get in a plank and lift your legs while you're doing it, or yeah. Yeah, planks work. It's still work, but it's not as much cardiovascular. Do you guys, who's ever done Max T3? We used to do them here in the front of the office. It's been a while, but you've done it before? This is our version. This is our version. No, this is a program we've created of high intensity exercise called Max T3. There might be free access still. I'm going to look into that and we'll get you guys a link to it. Otherwise it's $20 for lifetime access, but it's all we have all the videos archived online. There's literally tons of different workouts. You couldn't even do them all in probably 6 months, but they cycle you through for it. So you go online, pull it up on your computer. You can pull it up on your phone, lean your phone up, and they take you through a warm up. And then all the exercises are beginner, intermediate, and advanced, right? So you might have somebody doing a box, like a leaning squat. Somebody over here is doing a regular. Someone here is doing a jump squat. So they scale everything for you. So if you need help with it, this is what you do, Max T3. Doc's going to come up and talk about nervous system. This is the most important.
All right. So we're going to talk about balancing the nervous system. What I basically want you to understand is one thing. There's a secret to health. And I think some of you that are patients will get this. If you had to think of what keeps you healthy since you were a little baby till now, what do you think it is that's kept you alive all this time?
Beer.
Wrong answer. You could eat good. Watch this. You could eat good. He said the wrong answer. Don't just ignore it. You don't even want to know. Yeah. But anyway, if you eat good, exercise, sleep good, and do all these things, have you ever known somebody who just dropped dead when they were 30? Who has known someone like that? You almost did. And you're a young guy like me. I consider myself young, even though I'm getting to be the 6'0". That sounds old. Ooh. But once you get to 6 old, you still feel like a 30-year-old inside, hopefully, right? But anyway, where I'm getting at is we've all known someone who worked out at the gym, looked like Arnold Schwarzenegger, or looked really great. Patrick Swayze, I don't know if you know him, but that's an old timer like me. Boom, gone from pancreatic cancer. So where I'm getting at, where does life come from? You got it, the brain and the nervous system. So if people looked at it as like the old term used to be chiropractors were back doctors. We're actually back doctors are what? The nervous system, yeah. So chiropractors are really nerve specialists. So what we're doing, we adjust you. We're turning basically the circuits. If I can turn here. The brain is the computer, right? How does the innate intelligence that made you? So no one took a little baby that grew in the mom for 9 months and the doctor yelled to put the heart there, the liver, and all the organs where they should go. Innate took 2 cells and made a whole baby in 9 months. Did any doctor say, don't forget to put the arms in, don't forget to put the legs, right? Mr. Potato Head, right? But where I'm getting at is the power that made you, that's still inside you, is healing you every day. But if your nervous system is blocked through subluxations in the spine, how can those impulses get to your legs, your heart, your lungs? So where I'm getting at is a lot of people, like 90% of the world, has probably never been adjusted. They say somewhere 10 or 12% of the people in the world have been adjusted. So that's 90% of the people who don't even know if they're working right. So where I'm getting at is, if I don't drop that, the spine protects your lifeline. All the nerve impulses for your brain have to go through your spine, which is like your fuse box in the house, out all these little vertebrae, which there's little holes. If these little holes, which are called IVFs, get blocked or interfered with, it's going to slow down the transmission to wherever it's going. So the heart and lung nerves are in here. Would you rather be like this or like that? And would you rather be with the nice curves or be like text neckers like this? So there's a lot of kids nowadays that come in, don't even have a curve because they're all on their computers like this, all jammed. Would you rather be like that or would you rather be like that, upright? And you guys look like you're all sitting pretty good, even though it's been a long night and you're getting tired and probably hungry. So if you had to say, what is the main thing that keeps you healthy every day? Besides exercise, sleeping, and all the other things. What's that? Nutrition? No, because you can still, the nervous system. So the thing is that some people sit there and they say, well, I think I'm pretty healthy because I feel good. How do you know if you really feel good? How would you know?
No pain.
Because what? No pain. That's what people, that's a good one. You can have no pain and then 20 years later die of a heart attack in one day. So unless you had your spine checked, how would you know you had a healthy nervous system? You wouldn't know. So what they've done is they know that the arc of life, the brain has to go down the spinal cord to have good nerve flow. And if it's blocked because there's a pinched nerve, you could be subluxated and have 30% or 40% less energy going to your heart, not even knowing it. So I guess what we're getting at is you want to eat good, you want to exercise, you want to do all the right things that way, but if you didn't have your spine checked, you wouldn't even know if you're healthy.
I was surprised
At what?
at my exercise.
Exactly. Even me, when I was a young guy, when I was 17, I played football. So I had a lot of neck injuries from, if anyone's ever played football, it's kind of rough. And my neck was straight. And so when I got adjusted, I was like, is this going to work? And it's like, I thought, well, if you get adjusted, it's going to release some tension. But I realized I felt lighter, more energy. And like a lot of you guys that get adjusted, what's the number one thing you feel?
You feel lighter.
Lighter and more energy.
Breathe better.
And you breathe better. So it all goes back to most heart attacks are likely caused by an imbalance in your central nervous system, your autonomic or unconscious nervous system. It's the nervous system that runs your body automatically. It runs all the organs. So if you didn't have a spinal checkup, you wouldn't even know if all the nerves are working. How would you know? You wouldn't. So I kind of get a kick out of it, like Dr. Dan was saying. People go, I feel great. And yet 90% of the world has never had their spine checked. We're actually, it's kind of our biggest responsibility that Dr. Dan and myself find. It's really sad that you go up to people and say, hey, have you ever been adjusted? And they're like, I don't need it. I don't need it. I feel great. But yet 3 years later, they get cancer, or 10 years later, they have a heart attack because no one ever told them about the spine-brain connection that if they didn't have an x-ray, they wouldn't even know. Because pain is the last thing to show up. Pain doesn't always show right away. And organs have very little pain fibers. An organ has to be really sick to ever have an ulcer. Have you ever known anybody has a tumor this big? Why didn't they have pain when it was that big? Yeah, so.
Fourth stage.
Right. Tumors can be huge before they ever give you like, oh man, something's wrong with me.
And I do want to highlight one thing here. This Thomas Cohen right here. Heart attacks are likely caused by an imbalance in your central nervous system. What he's saying is it's not even the clot. It's not even a plug, right? There are people walking around 90%, their arteries are 90% occluded and they're alive. What he's saying is when the nervous system is stuck in a stress response, it's firing, like what happened to you, pushes you into an arrhythmia. It overwhelms the system. So he's saying this guy's saying the theory is wrong, he thinks. It's most likely an imbalance in your central nervous system. And what Dr. Kevin's saying, exactly right, is we live right now in the most dangerous time for the central nervous system because not only is there constant mental emotional stress, but there's physical. And we just accidentally did it to you guys. Now, thank God, most of you will be adjusted, to fix it, but you just sat for an hour, right? So sitting is like smoking to the spine. Sitting is the new smoking. It forces the spine into an abnormal position, stretches the spinal cord, and then the nerves up here in the neck, the very top, and the base of the neck, those are the relays to the heart. So a healthy heart starts with a good neck, is what we're saying. Now, those of you that have the wobble cushion, you know your exercises, you know what your spine looks like, you know your adjustment schedule. The most important thing you can add in every day to calm the nervous system down is intentional spinal movement. And here's what happens in 2 sentences. When you move your spine through its full range of motion, you fire little receptors, little sensors that talk to your brain. That movement calms the brain down and lowers stress on the nervous system. So it literally will calm you down, increase immune function, decrease pressure. How many people in here have been adjusted and noticed a change in blood pressure? Like who actually monitors their blood pressure? Has anyone gotten off of blood pressure medication or anything like that from getting adjusted? Most of you guys never were on them, so that's good news. So here's your action steps. Know what your spine looks like. Those of you that have friends and family you want to send in for a nerve evaluation, we are doing a Friends and Family Day the week of July 4th, so it'll be the 7th. It's actually 2 weeks from today. So anybody you've been talking to that has never, like Doc is saying, 90% of people have never seen an x-ray of their spine. They're a ticking time bomb, right? You can send them in, they'll do their exam and x-rays and they'll save $20 because you send them in, friends and family. So that's nice. So I'm going to show you the bundles here, but planet-chiro.com is where you can order this stuff from and you'll get it faster than us ordering it. But this is that NOx support, that nitrogen oxide gas support like I talked about. These bundles are specific to issues you have going on, but are coupled with lifestyle changes. Does that make sense? What I'm not saying is if you take the high blood pressure bundle, your blood pressure is going to go down. What I will say is people that get on the NO and the BP support and they start changing a little bit of their nutrition and doing the max T3 workouts, the high intensity, probably about 15 points on their blood pressure is average that we'll see it drop, probably average. But those are on there. So this is the blood vessel support. That's for atherosclerosis, hardening of the arteries. So they kind of overlap a little bit. Like the NOx support is in both of those. This one just has the natto, and then the plant sterols helps with cholesterol, and then same with the red yeast rice. So for probably most people in the room, it'd be these two that you would start on. But those are all on the website. And then what we're doing in here, for you guys showing up tonight is everything. Normally we do a bundle and then the bundle's 15% off, but we're doing any supplements you need. If you need to stock up on anything, is 15% off, like anything we have. So that was Sandra's fault, meaning she wanted to do it that way. So she's much nicer. And then this is my challenge to you. Have enough courage to start, enough heart to finish. So my challenge to you is, and this includes walking your dog, is I want you to commit to doing 30 days of motion. 30 days, 1 month, starting tomorrow morning. Starting tomorrow, you're going to do 30 days where you at least do a 30-minute walk. Then the next day you do a high-intensity workout for 12 minutes. Then the next day you do another walk. Then you do a high intensity. and do it with the people you live with. So the two of you guys, married couple, you do it together. Because there's going to be a day that you want to do it and he doesn't. And then the next day he'll want to do it and you won't.